Luvuvamo.
Yalla.
Manazambe,
Yala.
Yala.
manazambe, luvuvamo.
Yalla.
Yala.
Yala.
I need to see those that want to come out so I can feel your energy towards me. If you can turn on your cameras, it'll be very helpful. And I want to feel your presence with me here today. So if you are there, let me feel you as I can say, Tiripano, Vanavanzambi, Tiripano, Namora, Namorano. Tilipano navatusamba, tilipano navamimi, tilipano navadani, tilipano nava Kennedy. Tilipano na Mama Tizola, tilipano nava Magrete. Tilipano nava Mama Shelly, tilipano nava Jacksoni, tilipano nava Makudi, tilipano namorano, luvuvamo.
Yala. Yala.
Song just says we are all here as Bantu people. We are all here gathered here today, and I'm very thankful for being here. And the message I have today, I can feel it. The moment that Brother Tasamba came to me and he said, "Are you ready to go?" And I said, "The spirits are good, and I'm ready to dish out this information so you can get it from me." Now, in continuation with how I have always structured my information, I want you to understand something. When we always say that you have a package inside of you, you don't realize it until you're at a certain age in your life. So I was my favorite subject in school was history. My favorite subject in school was history. So, and history is something that has formed the basis of how I reconstruct certain items. I use history in the same way. I didn't understand why I loved it, but later on, as I got older, I now decided, I found out the reason why. So if you gave me something and you presented something to me, Brother Mimi, and I look at it and I say, okay, but what happened before then? And then you explain to me, and then I go back again and I say, what happened before that? I really want to go back to the root of the beginning of everything that starts. So my lectures are structured in that manner because I have to go back to go forward, to understand the past to go forward. So in this case, since the Bantu session that we have, everybody here is biblically and scripturally inclined to know the information. So that's why we have to take it back to understand where we are now. So it is a good thing that we are here today. And I am going to give you some information. This is one of my very passionate presentation because I'm very into it. And I ask that you actually help me out, Brother Mimi. If I get too passionate and lose my track of thought, bring me back into into the message that I'm trying to give to you today. So the question is, where are we now? Where are we now? Greetings and salutations to you all. Brother Mimi, please proceed.
Where are we now? Mutondo Massacre, Elder Patrick. Greetings and salutations. In the midst of all that is going on in this earth, in plain, it's only fitting that we look at where we are in all of this, where we are heading. What are we going to expect and see? Acts 2:17. In the last days, Nzambi says, I will pour out my mwanda on all people. Your sons and daughters will prophesy. Your young men will see visions, your old men will dream dreams.
Thank you. And that is where we are going to base what today is. Because when you look at the facts that are the information that's going to come to you, it's really that information that is not written, but downloaded as a dream. So some of them are not written. There's some of them that are derived from information that is given in a vision, in a dream, but in relation to the scriptures. Now, I can tell you right now, I am not a major in philosophy. I'm not a major in Sumerian texts. I am not a major in Greek mythology. I am not a major, I'm not an anthropologist, but my learning has been downloaded to me and pointed in a certain direction, and I grasp that information. That's how I give this information. So having said that, let me ask somebody here and ask you, I'll put you on the spot, Brother Mimi, here and say, are the scriptures primitive? Were they talking about the time then? Were they talking about the present? Were they talking about the future? What do you think? What is your take? Do you think what was being said then was related to us, or it was related to their time, or it is talking about the future? In a nutshell, what do you think?
Matondo Elder. Personally, I think that it is obviously describing a time before our time, but I think it's still imperative that we apply the commandments as if it is us in all of the scenarios. I can't remember what scripture it is, but it says that there's nothing new under the sun. And so we need to identify that although the time period was long before us, our ancestors, but I think that everything that applied to them is directly applied to us. And these are lessons that we either go through and learn from their mistakes that they went through, or we repeat history because we know history repeats itself unless we obviously change the course by implementing things that they didn't do that they were commanded to do.
Do vuva mu, everybody.
Yalla!
Yalla.
A very good account there, Brother Mimi. I appreciate it. Now, please proceed with the reading.
Ingeta. Now, the scriptures are not primitive per se. We are not Stone Age people or hunters and gatherers, but instead we are being of a higher spiritual dimension. There is nothing new under the sun. 1 Corinthians 13:8. I didn't see that, so that's why I laughed. Let me explain.
Okay, let me explain now. Somebody pull up Corinthians there while let me explain. There is nothing new under the sun. What we are going through right now is something that has already happened before in our time. We were on top at one point in our lifetime. We were on top and we messed up. We messed up, and the first will be last and the last will be first. And that is how everything has happened. It is no coincidence that you are seeing things in front of us that you think have never happened before. Both technology, both sickness, both the world around us, both droughts and floods. Those have happened before, and it's a repetition of history in its own self. That's why we're saying nothing is new under the sun, and history as a way of repeating itself. Now, as we venture into this, I will put Mama Matizola on the spot here and ask her, Mama Matizola, do you think that there's technology in the Nkanda in the Bible?
Do I think it's in the Bible?
Yes.
Of course it's in the Bible.
Mhm.
Yes.
We have technology in the Bible. That's very correct. That's very correct. And the wording in itself is definitely not the way that it has been framed into. So, Brother Mimi, splendidness of the highest.
Splendidness of the highest. In this imagination slash fantasy, is this an imagination slash fantasy or just a fairy tale? Then the likes of Enoch, Abram, and Ezekiel would not have stated as such. Scriptures do not talk about technology, or do they? This is not an imagination, but technology. If one changes some words in the wording, the whole scriptures, they turn into modern interpretation.
Okay. Now, what we are talking about, because the Nkanda, the Bible, is a spiritual book. To preserve certain information, you had to put it in a religious, spiritual book. And for that reason, it had to be there to survive the years that are past us. And there are certain attributes that certain individuals have in decoding that information. Some people can read it and will not see it. Some people will read it and decode it. And this is what happens here. Now, I'm about to explain to you how technology is really in the Bible, in the scriptures that you carry every time. So we are going to look at certain aspects where I picked out, in this case, Ezekiel. As you know, we mentioned Enoch. Enoch is mentioned one time in the Bible, but he personally wrote his own book. So his account is his personal account that he wrote. And then we have Ezekiel, who was a priesthood during that time. And so I will also reference a lot on Indian mythology. Now, understand, you have to go past the looking of these names that are very new as if it is something foreign. Because if you go back, remember what I said about history, you have to go back to find out more and more and more to find out what the originality of a certain place was. So in using Hindu and Indian mythology, you will understand that India was known as East Ethiopia before it was known as India. So if it is East Ethiopia, then it is the Ethiopians who were inhabiting that India. The name Ganges was the Ganges River. There's a famous river in India which is called the Ganges River. It is really it was an emperor of Ethiopia. That's the name of the river, really. So now you have to go back and dig up that information to determine that. So that's why you see me using some of those scriptures related to Indian mythology. So in Indian mythology, they believed that there were cities above the firmament. In Indian mythology, they believed there were cities above the firmament. Now, if you go back to the scriptures, you will understand the firmament is mentioned several times to protect us here on this earthen plane. According to the Mahabharata, the cities above the firmament. And above the firmament came what are small vessels, which they called Vimanas. They called them Vimanas, the little spaceship. Now, bear with me here. I'm working with you. I'm trying to ease you into it. They were called Vimanas, according to and so they believed that above the firmament, there were cities, and these cities would release these Vimanas, which will come on the bottom here on earth. Now, the same thing, the Egyptians. Okay, now we have to go back to the original name. I'm using this literally just because you're familiar with the name Egypt. And we have to go to Kemet, as it was known before then, Kemet. And then they termed it as winged sun disk. Winged sun disk. That's what they called it. Now, understand, I want you to, I don't want to overwhelm you, but again, when you go Kemet, The name Kemet is where the name chemistry comes from. It really comes from Kemet, chemistry, Kemet. So you are chemistry as it is. So Ezekiel was a priesthood, and in his account that he talked about, he came across these moments when these I don't want to call them as winged this, but there was this splendor that was in his presence, and he describes it in the Bible. And the original Hebrew Bible termed it as they didn't term it as God, they termed it as the highest. The English version is the one that turned it now and said God. So the original Hebrew Bible goes back to say it was the highest. What he saw was the highest, but they translated it now into the English version as God. So what he called is Ezekiel called it the splendorness of the highest. What he saw was the splendorness of the highest. Now, I want to reference you when you go do your own studies, that there's a gentleman by the name of Mauro Biglione. I think he's Italian, and he worked for the Vatican. And he was tasked, it's a separate group that was tasked to translate most of the scrolls that are hidden in the Vatican. And these scrolls are just a trove of information that was taken from Timbuktu. And so he went in to research on this. Now, Mauro, remember, people get corrupted. Mahuro first came out. There's a first interview of him where he's translating. There's a translator next to him. Look for that one, because after that, he was put into the system of he's going to write a book and put a book together, and now it became more of a money generating scheme. But look for the original interview that you will look at. He will break it down for you a little bit further so you can understand that. Scroll down a little bit more. All right, now the wheel. As I said, I will focus on Ezekiel. So let's go to Ezekiel 20:21. Somebody please read that for me.
Sorry, Elder, you wanted chapter 1, verses 20 and 21?
Yes, sir.
Okay. This is Ezekiel chapter 1, verses 20 and 21. The Mwanda of the living beings was in wheels. So wherever the Mwanda went, the wheels and the living beings also went. When the beings moved, the wheels moved. When the beings stopped, the wheels stopped. When the beings flew upward, the wheels rose up, for the Mwanda of the living beings was in the wheels.
Luvuvamu.
Yalla.
Yala.
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 What you understand there is the living being. Okay? The living being had wheels. It's a wheel in a wheel. Now, let me explain this in the best layman terms that I can. So Ezekiel came across this and he described it in the manner that he did. So there's a gentleman, I will reference again, I think it's Eric Van Daniken, I think it is. He researched into Ezekiel as well. And when he researched into it, he came up to a point where they were called to a conference, a secretive conference at NASA. And there he gave them an account, read Ezekiel to them. And there was another German the German scientists that were there that had come over after 1945, after the war that were put in there, and came to him and said, well, it was interesting that you referenced the Ezekiel. Is there any particular reason why? And he said, well, it says for itself. And he disputed Eric and told him that, no, there's no technology in the scriptures. But he went ahead and read it. And when he read it, the result has been the wheels that you have on the rovers right now. The rovers that have gone to Mars, the ones that you see are the wheels that turn this way, turn 300. NASA has patented those wheels. And it was taken from Ezekiel 20:21. Now remember, when the scriptures are talking about this being, it is the same concept as me saying, I am going to Brother Tusamba's village. But before I get to Brother Tusamba's village, there's a huge snake that I have to get through to get to Brother Tusamba's village. There's a huge snake that I have to get through. It's a metaphor. So what it essentially means is there's a huge mountain that I have to climb to get to Brother Tusamba's village. The same way this is being described, in the same manner, it was a beast on wheels. Now, if you read more into Ezekiel, you will see him break it down. It had wings. It had wings, and the wings would cover up. And then when it rolled up, it made noise. You with me? So whenever you get to read Ezekiel, understand that's where the NASA wheels came from that we used to take. Luvuvamu?
Yalla.
Yalla. Yalla.
Now, he termed it as the splendor of the highest. Now, when we go further into Ezekiel, you will notice that the book of Ezekiel was really never finished. It was cut off uprightly, just like cut off. And that's why you see that the book of Enoch has never been able to fit inside there, because it talks of the same accounts. Okay, so now the slenderness of the highest was reconstructed. The gateway of Ezekiel's temple. Let's go to Ezekiel 40:6-16. Anybody? Brother Mimi, I think you're on top of it.
Didn't get this will be Ezekiel chapter 40, verses 6-16. Then he went over to the eastern gateway. He climbed the steps and measured the threshold of the gateway. It was 10.5 feet front to back. There were guard alcoves on each side built into the gateway passage. Each of these alcoves was 10.5 feet square, with a distance between them of 8 3/4 feet along the passage wall. The gateway's inner threshold, which led to the entry room at the inner end of the gateway passage, was 10.5 feet front to back. He also measured the entry room of the gateway. It was 14 feet across, with supporting columns 3.5 feet thick. This entry room was at the inner end of the gateway structure, facing toward the temple. There were 3 guard alcoves on each side of the gateway passage. Each had the same measurements, and the dividing walls separating them were also identical. The man measured the gateway entrance, which was 17.5 feet wide at the opening and 22 3/4 feet wide in the gateway passage. In the front of each of the guard alcoves was a 21-inch curve. The alcoves themselves were 10.5 feet on each side. Then he measured the entire width of the gateway, measuring the distance between the back walls of facing guard alcoves. This distance was 43 3/4 feet. He measured the dividing walls all along the inside of the gateway up to the entry room of the gateway. This distance was 105 feet. The full length of the gateway passage was 87.5 feet from one end to the other. There were recessed windows that narrowed inward through the walls of the guard alcoves and their dividing walls. There were also windows in the entry room. The surfaces of the dividing walls were decorated with carved palm trees.
Dovovamu.
Yalla.
Now,
Yala.
Yala.
remember,
Yala.
Ezekiel came against a Vimana, and he was taken up in one of these Vimanas. And he was taken up, as you will read Ezekiel, you will find out that he was brought to this temple. And then when he came to this temple, I'll call them escorts that he had, gave him a measuring device. And Ezekiel asked him, why am I here? And he says, you're here because we want you to measure this. And he was given an equipment to measure that temple. That temple has since been reconstructed using AI. And a lot of them have actually mimicked that temple. The German, there was a German, I think a German that actually reconstructed it. And what you see, those pads are landing pads on there. Landing pads. The wheels, inner wheel, are the ones that land on those pads. Now, you are asking yourself and you're saying, okay, this is the Bible. It's not supposed to be talking about measurements. It's supposed to be holy. It's supposed to be scriptural. It's supposed to be talking about Tatanzambi. But why are we seeing Ezekiel included in here with measurements? It's not relevant to that, but it was put in there for the future of us to see it, to understand that we are not a primitive people. Technology that exists today existed way back then. History is simply repeating itself. We are not hunters and gatherers, and I'm about to show you the reason why. So we establish content as to understand where it is in the scriptures and how it is stated. Your homework is to go back again and reread it with your eyes and your mind open to see exactly what he was talking about. Let's scroll up. We have Ezekiel 9, Ezekiel 10, 9 through 10. To be honest, I don't remember why I put that, but let's see what it says.
This is Ezekiel chapter. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead.
You can get this is Ezekiel chapter 10, verses 9 through 10. I looked, and each of the 4 cherubim had a wheel beside him, and the wheels sparkled like beryl. All 4 wheels looked alike and were made the same. Each wheel had a second wheel turning crosswise within it.
Move.
Yalla.
Yala.
Okay, so essentially this is the wheel in a wheel. And that's the one that you see, the one that if you look at the Mars rover that has been on Mars, it turns different ways. And the way it's like a bling bling type of wheel where the rim is moving and the wheel is still standing still. So he was marveled at what he saw. And when he saw that, he called it the splendidness of the highest. He called that the splendidness of the highest. It was impossible to spinner rims. Yes, there you go. Spinner rims. Yes, exactly. So that's what he was looking at. So that technology aspect, when you read it before, when your eyes were not awakened, you were not able to interpret exactly what he was saying. And that's why I always say, sometimes you say you want to study the scriptures. They're not meant to be studied. They're supposed to be implemented inside so you can actually see exactly what you're talking about. So let's move a little bit further now. Scroll down some. Scroll up a little bit. Scroll up. No, you're going down. All right, right there. Now, what you see there is synchronicity. What you see there is synchronicity. what you have, I have the ability, thankfully I do, I can look up to the sky and I can see synchronicity in terms of numbers. The numbers that come to mind all the time are 777, triple 4 1s, and I see concentric circles. Everywhere I go, I see concentric circles. I see them. And so the plane that we are on has those synchronicity. What you're seeing on the left-hand side is a dwelling. Most of the dwellings that you will see from time immemorial. Those dwellings are concentric circles. And the reason they made those dwellings, if you look at it, there are other dwellings like the monuments of Great Zimbabwe, or I think Timbuktu was in the same construction where it was in a secular motion. This was done as a way of defense and security. That's why it was constructed in that way.
David.
I'm sorry, I think somebody was saying something. Okay,
Yeah.
Okay, I got lost there for a second. Okay, I thought somebody was asking a question. Anyway, so concentric circles are made in there. Those concentric circles mimic the plants on this earth. What you have there is an onion, and the onion has concentric circles. You also have the tree. When you cut the tree, you will see that it has concentric circles in there. And then when you scroll up a little bit, when you drop something in water, it forms concentric circles. So what I'm saying is you have to have a visual of these synchronicity everywhere you go. It's like the movie The Matrix. You are able to see the lines in the matrix and you're able to see them. And that's the same way you are doing here, is that the concentric circles have something important that you have to see. Now, I've always said that every one of you has those concentric circles embellished on your forehead, right here. When you cut your hair, that's your eccentric circle. That is you being part of the creation of the Creator. That's you right there on the back of your head. That's the same concentric circles. Some people may pick it out, some people may not. Okay, scroll down some. All right, now we are into what we call space. Okay, so space has the same concentric circles. That has concentric circles. And that is what forms the cornerstone of our universe. I'm about to get into that now. So, and I will now show you exactly what it stands at. Okay. Now, I'm not a good drawer. So I tried. I think this is the kind of teaching that needs me standing on a, do they still call it a blackboard now, or they call it a whiteboard, or whatever they call it now? I don't know. I don't know. So it would have been nice if I had a board so I could now go through the sequence of it. Go back to the title on the top. You're right. These are the terrestrial plane of inertia from above. It's really a topography of the entire universe, as I call it, Hyperborea. Hyperborea is the universe, the toroidal field of the Earth, the whole universe. Okay, now the whole universe has 12 realms. We have 12 realms and 12 zodiac. Now, I know a lot of people will think, oh, okay, we are into astrology now and all that. Zodiac simply means, in etymology, it simply means a circle of animals, a place of animals, a place of animals. It's like a zoo. It's not astrological in that aspect. So the four corners of the universe have 4 realms. All right, as within, so without. So scroll up a little bit. Okay, right there. Right. we have 4 concentric rings. They should be an outside concentric ring, but as you can count from the center, it goes 1, 2, 3, 4. And each realm has different types of attributes that attribute to these realms. There's the center one is air. Then the second one is earth. Then the third one is water. And then the final one is fire. If you are mechanically inclined, you will be able to see what you're looking at. If you have synchronicity, as soon as you look at that, you will see something and it will pop up at you. What you're looking at really is the same thing that might look like in my worst drawing, really, but it might look like a coupled resonant capacitor with holes in it. It's the same concentric circles that you see. Those are the 4 corners of the universe, the Hyperborea. And every one of them has air, earth, water, and fire. Now, let me explain. I will not go deep into that, but I want you to understand something here so you kind of have an idea of exactly where. Center of the earth. Somebody using it to the move. The center of the earth is what we call the point of singularity. That's your Hyperborea. That's your Borealis. What do you call that? What are those northern lights that come out in the northern hemisphere? The northern lights that they go see.
Polaris.
Yes, they are Aurora Borealis. Aurora Borealis. That's the center. That's the black hole. That's the black hole that they talk about. That's what we call Famandala. We call that Shambhala. We call that Agatha. We call that, I think that's another name that I forgot. Yeah, it will come to me. But that's the center of the earth. And that is Aurora Borealis. Thank you, Mama Matizola. Yes, Aurora Borealis. That's the center of it. So what you will see is in each realm, there are 3 zodiacs. In each realm, there are 3 zodiacs. And those, I remember, zodiac is Zeus, the circle of Zeus. So you have 3 zodiacs in each realm. Now, if you go back to your magical numbers again. You go to geometry. You go to 12. We're talking 12 zodiacs, 12 realms. What do we have? We have 12 dozens in an egg. We have 12 months in a year. And I think how many disciples did Congo to have? It's the same number. It's a repetition of the same number that you're seeing here today. Okay, so in each realm, there are 3 zoos. In the air realm, you have the Aquarian, and which is tethered towards the Aquarius. Okay, and then you also have the Liberians. These are races, zodiac races. The Liberian race is tethered towards the Libras. And then you have the Geminians, which are tethered towards the Geminis. These races form what we call the Cherubim Council. The Cherubim Council, if you go into Ezekiel, you will find him describing the cherubim somewhere in there. If you go do your research, you will find them. These are what we call the Ilion race. I'm using race not in the way that I should be using it, because it's something that you're familiar with. If I use a different name, you won't be able to recognize. So these are what we call the Cherubim Council. These are in the center of the earth. Now, this is what you call your Eden. This is your Eden. This is the one that we were taken out, and now we are in the second realm. Now, the second realm Up top on the left hand side, you will see Capricornians. This realm right here, the second one, is where we are. Now, this realm is what you call the Anunnaki realm. I know you've heard of the Anunnaki, and then those of you who have done your research are going to come back and say, Dr. Perry, what are we talking about the Anunnaki? This is Sumerian text. Go back to the Sumerian text. There are tablets in Sumer that were unearthed that are written by the Anunnakis. Now, if you want to look at it, here's where as I told you in the beginning, I'm not an anthropologist. I am a historian, but I also have the spirit that guides me in asking these questions. And these people will come up with these certain assertions where they come up and say, they were aliens on this earth and they left. And my question that I asked them, they have never answered that question. The question I always ask them is where their bodies are. If they lived on this planet, where are their bodies? Now, and if you have to ask yourself, who are the Anunnakis? Which bodies are they retrieving in Egypt, Kemet? It's you and me. There are no other bodies of three-fingered people that they're picking up. They're picking up humans, just like you and me. Because the name Anunnaki simply means the beautiful ones. I think I would attribute this to the Shona language out of Zimbabwe. The Anunnaki can mean many things. It can mean there are other words which go Akanaka, Akanaka. And then if you go into the Bantu Ngoni language, you say Anu, Antu, Anuaki, Anuaki, which is his people, which means his people. It really isn't something celestial in such a way that they make it so sensationalized that it is something out of the ordinary. Okay, so this realm right here, I focused on it a lot more because I wanted you to understand that that's the realm that we're in. And the reason why is top left is the Capricornians, which is tethered towards the Capricorns. And these are the ones that have the spirit animal as the goat and the monkey. Baphomet, that's where the Baphomet, it really is in that area. Okay? Now, when you go down the other one, the Vigarians is tethered towards the Virgo, and their spirit animal is the python. This is Pangaea. Pangaea as in Pangai, that's what they call it. This is your Pangaea right here. And these are the ones that are tethered towards the Virgos. Going right down there, you have the Taurians. And the Taurians are what we term as the Taurus, which is tethered towards the Taurus. And their spirit animal is the bull. And this is where, if you have studied more mythology from Sumer, you will understand that Enlil, Enki, Gilgamesh, and I've forgotten the other one. I guess it is, I think Thoth. They're all from this Korean group right here. And that forms the Anunnaki Council. The Anunnaki Council. We are all part of the Anunnaki Council.
Yeah.
Yalla.
Just checking there. Okay. Going into the third realm, we have up. We have the Pisceans, which is tethered towards the Pisces. Then you have the Cancerians, which is tethered to the Cancer. And then you have the Scorpions. These names are hard to pronounce, but it is tethered to the Scorpions. These are water people. Water people, that's the ring of the water people. And those form the, what we call, I'll get my notes here real quick. The water people are what you call now the Atlanteans. Those are your Atlanteans. Remember what's his name that drew the Plato? I think if I'm not mistaken, he's the one that drew the concentric circle of the Atlantean kingdom that was lost at a certain point. He said it was so lush and green, but they're the water people. They're the water people. So that's the Atlantean, and that's the Atlas Council, which is the Atlantean Council, which is the Atlas. They call it the Atlas. This is at the four corners of the universe. I'm giving you a snapshot. Remember, this is from the top, looking from the top and not looking from the side. I have a side view, but that's what I'm not trying to focus on right now, but just trying to give you an exact reading of where everything is located in that aspect. Give me a second so I can get my notes here correctly so I don't lose you. Okay. So yeah, this is just a cross section of it. Okay, the outside now, you will see there are 3 zodiac races, and you have, which is 3 zoos, and you have the Sagittarian, which is tethered to the Sagittarius, and then you have the you call that. You have the Aryans. The Aryans. I don't know how to explain this. Remember, in the Second World War, Hitler used the swastika as a sign of hate. Always remember that when somebody uses something that you are not supposed to see, there's something in it that doesn't add up right. And this is not something that was on the notes, but real quick, give me a second, let me see. All right, can anybody see that?
Ingeta.
All right, that's your swastika right there. You have the 4 corners of the universe. You have the sun on the top, and then you have the soil, you have the wind, and then you have your water. And then those are your 4 corners of the universe, but not in an eccentric circle. Now, when you go to describe the swastika, what you have on there is that you have swa. Swa means higher self. And then you have a sti, which is swasti, being. Okay? And then when you have the last one, which is the ka is the soul. So essentially, swastika means being with higher self. Being with higher self. It's not what it means when they use that. That sign has been used in Indian mythology a great many times by the Hindus, and its meaning is not what it has been used. It was a meaning which was really to blind people not to understand what it really meant. So it's the same concept that you're seeing here, but only in a secular way. It has concentric rings, and this is where you understand. I forgot to mention that when we talked about the Taurians in the humanoid Earth realm, those are the ones. The Taurians are the reptilians, right there on the Enki and Leo and Gilgamesh and all that. That's where the reptilians are. They're all in the same realm. Okay. Now these are subjective in some cases, in where you say they're there to protect the realm. I don't want to get into that aspect because that's what we're not talking about. But because of what had happened, there was a war that happened way back where Earth was on fire, and the Cancerians released the waters from above to put out the fire water on the earthen plane. So it was in that. So what you have in Sumer is really not a desert out there where you have Saudi Arabia, Middle East, and everything. It was really not a desert. It was a lush green forest. That's why you have an abundance of oil underneath those grounds, because the trees that were there were buried in there. So that's why you have an abundance of oil in that region. Okay, so in a nutshell, what I wanted you to understand is the types of realms, the 4 types of realms that you have, the various races that you have in each realm, where you have 3 zodiac races in each realm, and you have 12 realms that you have, and all these are a circle of Zeus on a flat plane in relation to the synchronicity of the onions, the water, as well as everything. It's still the same. Nothing is new under the sun. It's still the same. That's what I'm trying to emphasize. This is how it was. It was in the beginning, and forever it shall be. And this is nothing new to you, but because you were asleep, there were some that were watching over us and kept that information for us. And now we are waking up to that information. So, yeah. So now, as I called it, if you want to understand the universe, the whole universe that you see there, you have to think of it in terms of frequency, vibration, and energy. Frequency, vibration, and energy. When you look at all that, all the energy, the infinite energy that you get from there is infinite potential. And our potential is the point of singularity in the point here is an infinite potential of our memories. Did you understand that? The point of singularity in there is the point of memories. You have to start remembering those memories. You were asleep, and now you have to remember those memories that are at the point of singularity. So when you talk about being in frequency, you are like a radio with a transmitter, and the transmitter picks up signals, which makes perfect sense. I'm not going to be sounding controversial here, but which makes perfect sense to some people, naysayers, who were saying that 5G affects your equilibrium because you are on a frequency, vibration, and energy, because that energy throws you off. So as a transmitter, as you move around with the transmitter, you pick up certain energies. You can pick up negative energy. You can pick up positive energy. That's the frequency that you have. So for you to pick up the positive, and you pass somewhere and you say, oh, all of a sudden you feel so light inside and you feel like you have gained something. It's because your frequency is picking up more from the source of memories from the point of singularity. Now, in your dreams, when you dream, when you are in the realm of Anunnaki, you are actually can travel between the realms and back. You can travel between the realms and go into the air realm, go into the water realm, go into the fire realm. But if you do not seize your dreams, you wake up and you forget your dreams. You are not there yet. Your dreams have to be seized. You have to seize them enough to remember. If you can't remember, then you are not at the point of singularity. Lovomo?
Yalla.
Yalla.
You're with me. You're with me.
Yalla.
You're kind of quiet over there. I want to make sure that everybody's listening in on that. I know. I like I said, it's a passionate information to me, which was unveiled to me, and I've always taught it to so many people that I get lost in it. But yeah, pretty much just all I want you to understand on that. All right, if you could scroll down a little. All right, now in the same light, because of visions and dreams, you've heard people coming up. I dreamt that I was at a certain location and I saw this happen. We have seen certain projection. I had a projection way back in 2020, and the projection was that we were going to have something tragic happen. And we didn't know what it was, but we were using the calendar that we were using, the Greco calendar, just like the Mayans used 2012, but 2012 is not really 2012. So we were lost, but we knew something was going to happen. And that was attributed to the fact that we were in a download and we had information to say that something was going to happen. We thought, you see the four corners of the universe that look like a cathode resonant capacitor. Once those zoos align, then it opens the portals. The portals then different realms can move between certain realms, and that opened in 2020. So we thought something dramatic was going to happen, but we didn't anticipate that. Again, we are humans who have shallow minds, so we didn't know exactly what. But what was coming was COVID, which reset the whole paradox of the whole event. So in the same light, the dreams come. But how do you seize your dream? When it is a repetitive dream, it's a repetitive dream. It's a confirmation. It's a confirmation it's going to happen. If it is one-off dreams, you have many dreams that some of them, they can come one time and it happens. But a person who knows a repetitive dream comes, it is what it is. So where are we now? Where are we now with the information that we have, the information that we have read, what Simeon Toko has given us, what Brother Tasamba, Brother Benika have been doing every Sunday, enlightening us on this message. And we are suffering on the inside, and we're seeing what we're seeing in this world. This was a download that was given to me. And I will let you, Brother Mimi, please proceed.
Inget Matondo Masaka Elder. And the following is my vision as given to me in the same light as in Acts chapter 2, verse 17. Humanity on this life, earth, and plane has been going through a transformative and metamorphosis reset shift, so to speak. We are coming out of a new age, going into Katur Yuga, into a new Yuga.
Katur Yuga is just an age of time in generation. It's an age of time. We're leaving the Piscean age. We're going into a Aquarian age, which is water. So that's what it means. Mm-hmm.
This simply means that we are now having an opportunity to upgrade our DNA. By so doing, we will be shading some layers of that excess carbon that has been shielding our vision. So there are universal forces that dictate how the pace, scenes, plots of what it means to be human. So we are not sovereign per se. Certain parameters also dictate the stars above us, so to speak. This is the astrology of our reality. Hence, when spring came about, we were springing out of consciousness. Hence, we shift in and out of consciousness. This partly because they are forces other humanoids.
Yes. And as I revert back to the secular, you know there are other humanoids in that realm of Earth. That's why they're the ones that kind of keep the balance inside there. So there are other humanoids like us. Please proceed.
So we live in a multi-dimensional universe. They are certain beings who at certain times of consciousness are our gatekeepers of our realms / consciousness, watching over us, shepherding us while we are asleep. Now we are getting into a stage where we are springing into action, hence the cosmic forces, prana, is now increasing our electric magnetic forces.
Okay, prana, right there is just a life force energy. It's a very big magnetic force that happens, and I won't go into details on that one. Please proceed.
The cosmic forces / rays are now increasing. The vril is picking up an increased capacity of picking up our electromagnetic forces.
The vril is really just something that penetrates through matter. Think of it. Remember what I'm trying to tell you. It's if you want to master the universe, think of frequency, vibration, and energy. So vril is something that penetrates through matter and antimatter. Please proceed.
We are picking up more signals for those who have the capacity to pick up those signals. But there are some forces who I call the disagreeable forces who are here to keep a balance at the same time. They are not totally evil. Remember, evil and good is subjective. Their balance is to make sure that those who are not yet ready to be self-sufficient or don't have the spiritual capacity to look after themselves, hence they will continue to be looked after. A great many will fall under this model and become more dependent on the inorganic world. So this is the space that we are in now, the Great Reset.
Okay. Now, so what we are saying about there are those, everybody is on a different journey. There are those that are already awake. There are those some that are still asleep. Some are waking up, and some are on different stages. And there, when we come to define the inorganic and organic words that are going to come out, remember the words that I keep telling you. It's nothing new under the sun. We have inorganic and organic worlds right now. There's a land called, is it the Sentinel? There's a land off of India, I think it's got natives there that nobody can go. Yeah, and nobody can go there. They're still in an organic life form. They don't have technology. They don't have anything. It's nothing new to us. It's nothing new, and it's still with us today. And that happened during this Sumerian time, that we had inorganic and organic. Okay, so it is subjective on this part that there are some people that still need to be bathed enough to get to that point. That means they have not reincarnated enough to open their eyes and ears. Please continue.
And get that. So the world is splitting into two worlds, the inorganic and the organic. The inorganic will further separate you further and further away from your light being self-in tune into a more mechanical being. This will make one forget how to grow food and have AI have dominion over self.
Let me explain that real quick. Okay, so we are going through it right now. The inorganic is computer generated. It's something that doesn't have a soul. The organic is the natural self. This body that we have is engineered already, but it has a soul. It has a soul. The ones that will come will not even have a soul. They will just be inorganic. And so the moment you start going inorganic more, you lose your soul because you are there. all the things. So remember the point of singularity? Your memories are lost. You're moving more and more away from the point of singularity and embracing that, because you have to get in touch with your source to retain your memories. And now you become more an inorganic being, mechanical being, which is coming. The AI is that inorganic. So that's what it means by being mechanical. Please proceed.
You can get that. Our physical bodies are already engineered bodies by virtue of our creation. This body that we inhabit is organic to some form. The bodies that will be coming will not have that plug in at all, hence will lack the soul. The presence of cells and blood will be missing in their composition. This will not allow incarnation to happen due to the nature of these bodies. No opportunity for growth. Expansion will be feasible for the foreseeable future. Hence, the inorganic will really have to break free from the inorganic attachment to be able to embrace fully the organic. You have to almost die, but not a physical death, but rather a spiritual or mental, emotional death, if you want to call it. By so doing, that we will start to awaken, and the phoenix will rise within you and start to become the titans that we were in the past.
And get that. Luvuvamu.
Yalla.
Okay, so
Yalla.
you don't have to look too far. You have to look at the Hopi Indians of Arizona. They actually said, once we came up, they told us not to embrace all of the technology that was there. We were supposed to take a little bit and go down with it. But once you go up there, you lose your memories. Your memories of self-sufficient. I keep telling people here, and I said, the most difficult thing that you have in this mechanical world is we have certain stores here. We have the Walmarts and super centers and that sell all our produce and everything else. When we had the lockdown, when everything was locked up, there was no way to get anything at all. If you look back at the continent, they have markets that are open regardless. And those markets, you can go and get your stuff and make it every day. In this mechanical world, you won't have those attributes. Trust me, but you will always be taken care of because you haven't reached that paradox yet. So that's what they're saying, that this is the world. If you embrace the mechanical, it will make you lose your memories and will be losing touch with your point of singularity. Please proceed.
You can get that. And then there are those that will become sovereign souls that can turn into magician, wizards, and kings, and they can move into that space as quickly or slowly as possible for the next possible 20 years or so, give or take. The organic will move away from that. The yin and the yang. They will become more and more supernatural. The more they move away from the inorganic, the AI, they will start to become a more organic intelligence. More organic intelligence. They will unlock their light being of themselves, more of their organic potential, more of their organic magic, and will have the same technological advances as the inorganic. In other words, telepathy, telekinesis, clairvoyance, precognition, hydrokinesis. And please remember, artificial or AI is essentially magic. When we say technology, technology is inorganic magic.
Thank you. Bruvuvamu.
Yalla.
Yalla.
Technology is indeed inorganic magic. What the computers are doing right now is something that you have the ability to do. What they're doing right now of memory reading is exactly what you should be able to do. Because what they're simply putting into place is to have something think for you when you can do it yourself. And then you can have the ability of synchronicity, telepathy, telekinesis, clairvoyance, and hydrokinesis. You can have those abilities yourself. You are in the creator's image. But what they're doing for you is taking you away from the light and become more and more dark. Stay closer to the light, and you will start remembering your inner self. Please proceed.
And get that. This is a split that is happening. It's nothing new. This happens after a great many cycles in our lifetime. This happened way back during the whole Tartarian Empire, the mud floods. Nothing new under the sun, as history has a way of repeating itself. And so, we are at the junction in our time period. This is the time as the time as the healing process takes time, transition takes time, transmutation takes time, shadow works take time.
Get that. Thank you. Lovo vamo.
Yalla.
Yalla.
Okay.
Yalla.
I'm missing a point there. Brother Mimi, yeah, you could have, yeah, this will be, this will be. Now, a lot of people have this impression that transmutation hasn't happened yet. And transmutation really is when we say there are robots walking outside, and we are now getting into that because now we have that chat AI or something that is there, and people are thinking transmutation has already happened. The one that I can give you, the transmutation that has happened, is ChatGPT, correct? The transmutation that is happening is, I can give you one simple one. At a certain point, your mind was able to remember all the phone numbers of everyone in a cell phone. That is gone now. You can't remember all the cell phone numbers inside a cell phone. You have to open a cell phone to get those numbers. So now you're going more and more mechanical. And if I were to tell you to say, go ahead and do a garden, you will have to go to AI, Google it up, and see exactly what you need to do to make a garden, to make something that is relatable to you. So transmutation has already started happening. And we are in the thick of it. The question will be, are you going to be inorganic or organic at the same time? All right, please proceed.
In conclusion, therefore, we are not all born the same. It's meant to be like that. As such, we say to each is his journey. We will have to have some going into the light, some into the darkness. Some will be rising, some will be falling, some are awakening, and some are falling asleep. This adds balance into its entirety with such beauty and excitement. Hence, know thyself. I am awakening. Am I asleep or am I descending? Decide for yourself in the timings. Timing is crucial. When you are right now, you are playing a role by doing the things that you are doing that are important for your journey. It doesn't mean that you are behind or less than anyone, but rather adds to what everyone else is doing. There will come a time when that separation will have to happen for you.
Yalla.
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 Special emphasis. Everybody, you will get it. Brother Mimi, you're here today. You're here because you're on that journey. At a certain point, it will come where that recognition will come, where you will unveil and say, my path has changed. Right now, when certain people complain and say, I am so lonely, I am by myself, it is because that's the preparation to that finale. You're going through the preparation phase to get to that finale. You're being prepared. It is all a different timing to different people. So therefore, if you are worried over the fact that how come he or she is more advanced than I am, it's because it's not your time yet. You have to go through the phases so that once you get through the phases, you'll be able to withstand and be able to articulate the downloads that have been given to you. So do not despair over that fact, but look to the fact that you're in groups where they will help you and you have other humanoids that will help you during that process to get to your destination. Everything in your life right now is getting you to your destination. If you're going through a turbulence where you are having, why Tatanzambe put me in this job that is so depressing, then you have to understand that it is part of your preparation. You have to stay the course, and eventually you will overcome. That's where we are. That's where we're going. And you need to understand where you're coming from. I touched a little bit on the biblical aspect of Ezekiel. I didn't go into Enoch, but I asked that you go further into it and do some research, follow up on Mahuro, and follow up on Eric Van Daniken. Listen to the breakdown of the scriptures and how it was originally said, and now understand your strength and gain the universe by understanding the three things I gave you: the frequency, vibration, and energy. Everything moves in energy. Tesla told you the same thing, and what happened to him is history now. But it is the key to galvanizing and getting that energy from the earth. I want to thank you for joining us today for this Zoom session, and I hope you are enlightened. And here ends the presentation today. Ingeta.
Ingeta. Matondo Masaka.
Ingeta.
Masajulu mwazela pange kota tutisole tuzelese otishima
pange tuzelese omishima pange tuzelese omishima
alajano wayo lungu ya Jesu ya nzumbi mundu kitena kujimona
omundu kitena kuyimona omundu kitena kuyimona
pange ngongo ya tema tusoma baba nzumbi kulengele mu matuta
pange kulengele